So we are going to start the second Dhamma discussion. So we have received several questions, and as usual, Chandrika is ready to present them. So we'll start with the written questions.
Avasara Bhante, we have received 4 written questions.
4 reports? Okay.
But long ones.
Okay, yeah.
Report number 1, most respected Bhante. During my sitting meditation, I have identified that mind is moving from one place to another place with a sudden shock in the mind. After that, no any thoughts in the mind for few times and sometimes increasing calmness too. This has happened to me previously also, and now I can identify it clearly than in the past. Is there any stages in the mind? I kindly and humbly request more information on this from Dhamma point of view, please. Thero Saranai.
Now the thing is, now as we continue, so mind become more and more calm, more and more tranquil, more and more relaxed. So on such environment, whenever a thought kind of generate, so we can actually feel it. You may start feel a kind of even a little jerk kind of a thing. Actually, there are 5 methods according to the Buddha. There are 5 possibilities how the third thought provocation or thought generation can happen. So one is called pandati. There are several things, starting with manjana, injati, injana, then pandana, prapanchana, managata. So there are, you can refer Yavakalapi Sutta, available in the Samyutta Nikaya. So there are, so Buddha discuss about how our thought formations happen, how different ways of, ignition of thoughts, you can say, generation of thoughts, genesis of thoughts, how they can happen. So one is this pandana. Pandana we can translate it as kind of an agitation. So mind go through some sort of an agitation, so that can promote thinking in a way. Now say your mind is not calm, not stable, not still, rather it becomes suddenly to some reason get agitated. It comes to generate various thoughts, a kind of a thinking process. So the meditation is kind of an opposite. So say for example in Samatha meditation you are tranquilizing the mind, calming down the mind, relaxing the mind. So you are basically healing the mind. But when we lose it, again the agitation happens, kind of a provocation happens, you start thinking, you start proliferating, all that is there. So therefore, when you are in a more relaxed environment, when you are in a more calm, peaceful environment, I mean the mind, so whenever a thought happens, so you might feel it as a jerk, you might feel it as a kind of a wave, kind of a, a kind of a sudden break, something like that. You may feel it. But typically what happens is, we are continuously thinking, you assume that thinking about your own self, how you were thinking. Before you start meditating, long time ago, if you think about yourself, continuous thinking. There you can't even recognize, okay, when this thinking happened, when a thought happened, you are not aware at all. Your nature is thinking. That is your habit. You are being habitually, continuously thinking. But now there may be instances, the mind is very calm, very quiet, relaxed, peaceful, and still, and no even a single thought possible. So on such case, when a thought happens, you may easily notice it, and you might feel a little bit of jerk possible. So that's why different reasons are there for the thought generation, and one thing is called pandana, is the kind of an agitation. Inner agitation can cause thinking, and the injana is some sort of a affection, some sort of a craving, a desire, attraction, also can generate thinking. And again, the mind has a kind of an intrinsic characteristic to diversify the things. Say when there is a little thing, so our mind has some sort of a property to diversify. Not just a single direction, but from many different directions, start thinking this way, thinking that way, thinking this way. kind of a diversified thinking. That's called proliferation. You know, prapancha, the term prapancha, that the property of the prapancha is kind of a diversified thinking. It's not a well-directed, organized kind of a thinking, rather a completely ad hoc type of multi-directional thinking, unorganized thinking, obsessive kind of thing. So that is another property our undeveloped mind has that also promotes thinking. And the other thing is we compare ourselves and another person. We always tend to compare. I am good, he is bad. I am bad, he is good. I am equal, I am better. So likewise, we tend to compare when people are there, when situations are there. That also promotes thinking. And again, there is an inherent property in us thinking that there is a person here, I am here. So when that is strongly felt, that is also promotes thinking. The kind of a person. So sometimes you feel, okay, I am here. So I am. So that sense of I, when you are strongly feeling, it promotes thinking. So likewise, some very fundamental reasons or causes are explained in the Yavakalapi Sutta. And there's a Sinhala book we published, Navatuna Sita. That Navatuna Sita Sinhala book is based on this Yavakalapi Sutta. And it's a very, very interesting area actually. So as we are continuing our practice, we can see how these thoughts are being generated. What are the causes? So more we understand, so we can slowly kind of heal those different causes, if possible. Then the mind becomes calm, mind becomes silent. That's why the practice leads us to a kind of an inner silence. Practice always leads us to an inner peace, inner silence, calmness, tranquility. So it may be not the samatha, even vipassana. Even vipassana, you more deeply, more wisely, you stop the proliferation, you stop the fabrication. And then you are experiencing the calmness, experiencing the stillness. So that is not merely by kind of a suppression coming through the concentration power. Rather, you understood. You went through a thorough understanding through a vipassana process. So mind now does not want to think. Rather, it prefers calmness. It prefers tranquility. It doesn't want to fabricate. You know the avijja pacca sankhara. What is the opposite? Avijjayatveva asesa viraga nirodho sankhara nirodha. So the more we develop our wisdom, that means the sankharas have to be reduced. So therefore Nibbana is called Sabba Sankhara Samato. Stilling of all the formations. You can see where Buddha has directed us. Isn't it? So you are being kind of healed by the meditation. So if you are doing it properly, so it's a complete mental healing process. So you become calm, quiet, silent, healed, in a way, mentally healed. So that's why the Arahants are said they never can go through a kind of a mental disease or any issues can never happen to an Arahant. Because he is the completely healed person, completely free from any mental disease. All others are mentally ill, including all of us, mentally sick. Yeah, so it's a kind of a healing process that we are going through. We have to be very patient, by the way. If we are too impatient, again it's very difficult. We can go wrong and we can become stressful and we might encourage too much concentration. All that can, detrimental to our practice. But if we are allowing things to happen very naturally, smoothly, possibilities are there. Yeah. Yeah.
Avasarai Bhante, that is my question.
Yeah.
Previously, when this change is coming, sudden shock is coming in the body also.
Uh-huh.
Now not coming in the body,
right.
Only in the mind, and that is also coming automatically, not from not from my side, not any influence, from mind itself identifying and doing that one.
So before that thought comes, what is the state of the mind? Just silence?
Silence, and sometimes I identified now, few thoughts are coming, but I cannot identify exactly what is the thought came to me. But during that time, that sudden shock is coming.
Mm-hmm.
And after that again, silence.
The other thing is, now it's kind of two sides. So you are in a complete silence mode, and there's a kind of active mode. Here, thinking mode. So there's a shifting between these two modes in a way in the mind. So that shifting might have a little friction. So, I mean, switching between two modes can have a little friction. So I feel the things may settle with time, because I mean, because sometimes what you are experiencing may be little influenced with some samadhi. But when that samadhi is lost, but you are maintaining the silence at the surface level, then thought coming does not really interrupt the mind. It's not making a jerk, but it's another thought that you can accept it because you are still in the active mode, but silent. Now, typically, this is actually a scientific finding. Now, recently, about 3 years ago, there were a few Jawaharlal University lecturers, one actually attached to the medical college. So they did a little survey using several monks actually. So what they actually, this is not unique to them actually, they actually found, various other scientists also have found. So what meditation does basically. So typically our mind in general, we can say at 3 different modes. One mode is the thinking and acting, and we are being restless, and all that is the active mode, active mind. And then we have the sleeping mind. While we are sleeping, when we are sleeping, so it is complete at sleep. That's another mode. So what is the concentrated mind then? Say through meditation, so we are coming to a concentration, samadhi. So that concentration actually lies in between these two modes. Your mind is not sleeping and still not restless, right? So your mind is concentrated. Now in Vipassana, you are coming to another level. It is very, very active, but still silent. Unbelievable. It's a very active mind, but still a still mind, very peaceful mind. So this is some kind of a thing that we have to kind of compare. Where am I? Like, where is my mind? So is it completely deeply concentrated and still, or completely active but silent? So the Vipassana promotes this last one. Completely active, very vigilant, but silent.
Yeah, after that shocks, I can identify my mindfulness level is increasing. But
Let it happen. Yeah. Let it happen. So these things are possible because switching can happen. So you are going through some sort of a shifting of the mind. Say you were with various thoughts, various phenomena, and you understood they are coming and going. So nothing is there. So you are in the absence. Just be in the absence. Enjoy absence. Just dwell in the absence. So let it be.
Yeah, if such kind of shocks are not there, sometimes I feel I am sleeping also. I can't understand still that one.
Is it really sleeping?
No, don't know.
Don't know?
I can't exactly identify it.
By the way, how is your walking?
Walking without...
Are you now have tendency to spend more time in sitting?
No.
No? Okay, then fine. Because you know that the typically if our practice becomes samadhi biased, then that is an area that we have to be little careful, because even in the Vipassana, if we are too attached to the concentration, if we are too attached to this kind of Vipassana samadhi, that is also not a good thing. So we have to have a balance. That's why better go for a walk and have an open awareness, while we see, hear, smell, all that, eyes are open. So how the mind is reacting. So that is very balanced. We are quite active and we know what is happening right now. Fully aware, fully awake. Not in a deep kind of a trance. Not at all. Not in a trance. So the samadhi biased mind prefer to go to a kind of a trance, to go through a kind of a escape situation, out of the everything. Rather than doing that, say even in the society, say you are in the supermarket, but still the mind is calm. Something like that. Say people are, shouting, talking and all that. Once you look at your mind, calm. Then that is something really interesting. So therefore just go for a walk and look at how mind is reacting. Even though you see things, it is still calm. Even though you hear, still it is calm. Thoughts may come here and there, but they also disappear. But you retain the calmness. So such kind of a mind is much better. So we are at the surface level every time. It is not concentration protected, but rather the mindfulness, and maybe we can add the wisdom. So that is the mind being empowered by mindfulness and wisdom. It's maintaining that kind of a awareness. So let it happen. Yeah.
Report number 2. The kaya, the body or form, can be taken into 32 separate parts. When observing it with a concentrated mind, the meditator can understand it as elements. Only the 4 elements in its changing nature and nothing more in it. However, there was me who saw it. When looking at it more carefully, it is seen as only a mere thinking. It is
mere what?
Mere thinking.
Thinking. Uh-huh.
Thinking. It is a creation of the mind, the vijnana. How can we get rid of it?
No, rather than get rid of it, so we can say, so in the elements meditation, as you have mentioned, so in a way the primary or the initial stage is to overcome this compactness of the body. And we consider the body as one thing, body as a unit, body is me, myself, or body belongs to me, this is me. So likewise we strongly identify with the body. But the Dhatu Manasikara, the elements meditation, help to overcome that. So you understand this body is consisting of various parts, various element characteristics, continuously going through various changes. Disintegration is kind of a process. So then the body become kind of dissolved. You can't have a compact unit as the body. So it become kind of a process. Now you can't grasp it as a one unit, as one thing. So the Sakkaya Ditthi related to body is fairly less now. But as you said, still there may be a person. Because I am the one knowing it, I am the one experiencing it, I am the one feeling it. So there may be the mental side, still we have to purify. So that is where the Vedananupassana, Chittanupassana, those things are there. So moving into the Chittanupassana particularly, so there you can see how eye-making happens, how mind-making happens. So with respect to what am I preparing a self? So now are you preparing a self with respect to this understanding? I am the one understanding. Is it the one you are taking as a self? Is understanding you? So likewise we can actually question. So that's why very interesting. So Buddha actually give four areas. Now say there is a thought happening in the mind. Now the very prominent, very popular saying, philosophy in Western philosophy is, when there are thoughts, that means there is a thinker. I think, therefore I am. Cogito ergo sum, as far as I can remember it. In I don't know, it's maybe French, maybe. by Descartes, René Descartes. So that's a very, very popular statement by a Western philosopher. I think, so therefore thinking is there, thoughts are there, so there should be I. But Buddha's teaching is completely different. So thoughts are there, thinking is there, but there is nothing represented by thinking. The thinking is not an object, but thinking is there. It's a process, it's an activity. Instead of that, what we do is when thought happens, when we attribute it to a person, and a person, with respect to a person I am thinking or something like that, so we make things very complicated. But as we continue, we might understand, okay, a kind of a thinking is there, but there is nothing being thought or something like that. That's the other side. So object side, you are not creating a self in a way. And on the other hand, is it a must to think? Is it something to think? Is it essential to think? There is no such thing either. There is no thing telling, okay, you should think, it is a must to think. There is no such thing either. If you not think, it's also fine, no problem. And the last part is the interesting part. There is no thinker. Thinking is there, but there is no thinker. So the knowing is there, but there is no knower. So understanding is there, but there is no person who is understanding. So these are very interesting areas actually, very, very interesting, but difficult to understand. But actually very, very philosophical in a way, very aesthetic in a way. So these are the areas actually we need to further and further investigate. So till we are arahants, we may feel a person. We may feel the sense of I. So that is unavoidable. So you might have referred the Khemaka Sutta. So there, Venerable Khemaka, being a non-returner, he very humbly accepts, still I have a sense of I. I don't consider this form aggregate as myself, by the way. I don't consider feeling aggregate as myself. I don't consider perceptions aggregate as myself. I don't consider formations, thinking, intentions as myself. I don't consider any of the consciousness as myself. But still I feel a sense of I. So the practice you need to continue, then ultimately this sense of I also will be abandoned. So therefore we can't, rather than questioning it, just continue the practice. So you can see how often you feel the sense of I. Now say previously assume that per hour, say you felt 100 times sense of I. So as we continue our practice, maybe it might reduce to 50 times. I'm just giving a very blunt answer, example. So maybe later, 1 hour, only maybe 10 instances. Another 1 hour, only 5 instances. So likewise, the rate, the instances, number of instances that we feel the sense of I may reduce. And ultimately, hopefully, will completely vanish. So therefore, the understanding is good, but there is no person who is understanding. It's an understanding. Yeah, we have a question. No, you, Chandrika. No, okay, fine.
You read my mind, I guess. I was just thinking, Bhante. Now, sometimes, not that I've gone up to that extent, but sometimes I feel if I have no controlling of any of those things, how can there be I? So that kind of a thinking I get, not through meditation anyway.
No, that is because of our ignorance. Actually, ignorance generates a personality. So we get, attachment or grasping is a prerequisite to sense I. For the generation of I, to the sustenance of I, initial requirement is an attachment. Initial requirement is a grasping. So that's why we can, on the opposite way, we can see when there's a sense of I can check with respect to what this sense of I being generated, what is the base to which am I attached. So if you are able to find out that base, if you are able to detach from that, then sense of I also can't stay. Then it also will have to disappear. Because here the energy source, like here the source. Because of this attachment grasping, it promotes the I. But when we disintegrate this, when we detach it, then the sense of I can't sustain. It will disappear. It will dissolve. So these are very interesting areas actually. The moment that you feel sense of I, then you can see with respect to what this I is coming out. What is the aggregate particularly? What aggregate is promoting this? Very interesting area actually. Very, very interesting Vipassana areas. Yeah.
Report number 3. Most Venerable Bhante, I have 2 questions based on theory. Question number 1. Since Rahatan Vahanse also feels up to Vedana, we as yogis have to break the chain Vedana causes Tanha. When a Vedana arises, it is via Sanya. We recognize it as Sukha, Dukkha and Adukkama Sukha. Then, when the corresponding liking, disliking arises, as soon as we see it, we let go. Is this how we break the chain between Vedana and Tanha? So, we need to be mindful either at the Vedana, Sanya, Chetana level, depending on the Sati Sampajannaya at that moment. Please advise.
Yeah, I can agree with you. There's a beautiful sutta called Loka Samudaya Sutta. So where Buddha explains this generation of suffering with respect to each sense base. Chakkucca paticca rupecha uppajji chakkuviññānaṁ tinnaṁ saṅgati passo passapacca vedana vedana pacca tanha tanha pacca upadānaṁ upadāna pacca bhava bhava pacca jati jati pacca jara marana. So ultimately this whole suffering. So with respect to I. Here sotam paticca saddecha uppajji sota viññānaṁ tinnaṁ saṅgati passo passapacca vedana vedana pacca tanha tanha pacca upadānaṁ upadāna pacca bhava. So likewise each and every sense base can create suffering, can generate suffering. So what is the opposite? That is the Loka Nirodha. There Buddha mentioned Chakkuncha paticca rupeja uppajji chakkuviññānaṁ tinnaṁ saṅgati passo passapacca vedana vedana pacca tanha tanhayat deva asesa viraga nirodho upadāna nirodha upadāna nirodho bhava nirodha bhava nirodho jati nirodha jati nirodho jalati nirodho dukkha domanassa blah 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 everything collapse. So that means initially you can't immediately stop tanha. The Vedana may generate certain kind of a desire. It may generate some craving because still the defilements are there. We are based on that. But that tanha, rather than promoting it, rather than feeding it, now you are simply keeping it aside. You are not promoting it. You are not feeding it. You simply keep it aside. Due to a desirable Vedana, you may arouse kind of a feeling, desire, but you are not promoting it now. You recognize it. There's a tanha, there's a craving, there's a desire. I should not promote it. Okay, let it go. So you are doing a kind of opposite process now. And then there may be a new situation. There may be a really beautiful sight. It might even generate a very good, happy, pleasurable feeling, but there is no craving. Maybe at a later time, it may be available. Now say, with respect to Buddha, now there's a very interesting sutta, I think Subha Sutta. So there is a young person who is following the Buddha. He is doing a research by following the Buddha. And wherever Buddha go, some distant following is there. So he is recording, okay, this is how he eat, this is how he wear the robes, this is how he go for village Pindapata, this is how he talk, this is how he sleep, this is how he eat. All that he has recorded. So there's a very interesting statement. He records Rasa patisangvedi chako pana bhagava nocha rasa raga patisangvedi. So Buddha is fully aware of various tastes, but in his mind there is no craving for that. So you can't stop the taste. Taste is there. Maybe a pleasurable feeling also there, but there is no craving for that. So likewise, so we can't stop the pleasurable or happy feeling being generated. So with respect to the situation, such feeling might arise, but now there is no craving for that, no desire for that. Mind remain calm, either in the painful feeling or either in the equanimous feeling or in the pleasurable feeling. Mind can maintain its calmness, its tranquility, without thinking or without any proliferation. So that is the practice actually. At the beginning it is difficult. Because when there is a pleasurable feeling, there may be a kind of natural tendency to crave, natural tendency to desire. I want it. That instinctually it might come. So that we need to recognize and slowly abandon. Then slowly, it may not happen next time. Something like that. That's why, that is the bahya. You see, but mind remain calm. You hear, but mind remain calm. You smell, taste, touch, but mind remain calm, not involved, not mixed. And thoughts come and go, but mind is intact. Mind is maintaining its calmness, tranquility. It's not disturbed. Yeah.
Question number 2. According to the Madhupindika Sutta and the Paticca Samuppadaya, the contact arises before Vedana. I see this in the practice, since recently I noticed via tongue contact, a Sukha Vedana arises and how the Sukha Vedana causes a liking. But in the Samadhitti Sutta, the Vedana arises before contact. Bhante, in the Sakmana once, within brackets some time ago, at the turning point, I noticed among all yogis how I suddenly was attracted to one yogi. Is this where Vedana arises before contact? Is this due to an underlying tendency? Please advise me, Bhante. May Bhante attain Nirvana in this life itself.
No, I like to explain like this. So I fully agree with the Madhupindika Sutta statement where one after the other kind of a progressive Paticca is explained. But in the Samadhitti Sutta, Venerable Sariputta didn't, as far as I understand, Venerable Sariputta didn't want to show such kind of an orderly progression of the states. He simply say what is Nama, what is Rupa. So there he simply give the list. Vedana, Sanya, Chetana, Passa, Manasikara. So why are we tempted to think, okay, Vedana comes first, Sanya comes next, Sanya, Chetana comes next. So that is, we unnecessarily interpret. Now say, when you are asking, okay, what is in your hand? Say you have different objects in your hand. And say I am asking you to list them. So you are simply, okay, I have 1 rupee, I have 1 rupee coin, I have another thing, I have this thing, this thing, this thing. So does that really mean they are in order? No, sir, what is available there. So therefore, as far as I understand, so when Venerable Sariputta is telling what are the contributing factors, what are the ingredients in the nama, the name, so he simply say, okay, it's the Vedana, Sanya, Chetana, Passa, Manasikara. So therefore, we don't need to find out, is it really mean after Vedana the Sanya happens, after Sanya the intention happen. So that is our own proliferation as far as I understand. But in the Madhupindika Sutta, there is a methodical order, orderly progression. This Venerable Mahakachana explained, Chakkuncha Padicca Rupecha Upaja Chakku Viññāna. Tinnan Sangati Passo, Passa Pacca Vedana, Vedana Pacca Yang Vedati Tan Sanjana, Yang Sanjana Tan Vitakkit, Yang Vitakkit Tan Papanchiti. All are well methodical, one after the other. So that's very much like Paticca. So therefore I can't agree on the name and form thing. So name is merely these ingredients. Vedana, Sanya, Chetana, Passa, Manasikara. So what's the other question?
Telling one of her experiences. When a Vedana arises, it is where Sanya, we recognize it as Sukha, Dukkha. Sorry.
Yeah.
This is the page. Sorry. Page 2. But in the Samadhiti Sutta, the Vedana arises before contact. Bhante, in the Sakmana, once I turn...
there's on to that, actually, we can say, as you also suggested, there are latent tendencies. Yeah. So latent tendencies, in a way, have an influence on what we select, what we pick. So as we discussed yesterday, so what we see, what are the features that we are interested, what are the signs we are interested, is dependent on our lobha dosa moha, raga dosa moha. Rago ko avso nimitta karano, doso nimitta karano, moho nimitta karano. So this nimitti karanaya, so what features am I interested when I am looking? So it is very much like a great influence coming from our predispositions, latent tendencies. Definitely yes. So therefore what I see is fairly influenced by my defilements. Another person may look the same object, but he see different features, different signs, because his defilements is something different. His influence coming from a different dispositions.
Report number 4. Garuttara Swamin Wahansa. With compassion towards us, please elaborate on number 1, Vijnanaya, number 2, Manasa, number 3, Chitta, number 4, memory and mind, and how the above relates to our physical mind. In Dhamma it says that Vijnanaya is formulated in our Salayatana. Please explain this too.
Yeah, I mean, there's a beautiful explanation given by Katakurunde Jnanananda Thero. You can refer, there's a small booklet published as questions and answers. So one monk actually asking that from him, so what is the difference between Vijnana, Chitta and Mana? So these are often, we think they are the same. But there seems to be a very slight difference. So the Vijnana is the most fundamental level. Chakku Vijnana, Sota Vijnana, Gahana Vijnana, Jivha Vijnana, Kaya Vijnana, Mano Vijnana. So these are the most fundamental ignition part, we can say. A kind of a cognition happens instantaneously. And we can't say it is good or bad or something like that. And it is, as we just discussed, it's dependently arisen. When Chakku and the Rupa, the eye and the form is there, when it is aligned, and the attention is also there, then the Chakku Vijnana happens. It's a kind of a it's generated as a result of this combination, we can say. So there's a sutta called Dvaya Sutta. So there Buddha mentioned, okay, these are the two most prominent causes for Chakku Vijnana to happen. So the Chakku Vijnana happens. Now, so once that Vijnana happens, by the way, so we, as we just discussed, it may have the contact causes Vedana now we start recognizing as the perception. Now we are little coloring the situation. So when we are perceiving, our own likes and dislikes are inserted to the picture. We start thinking some information is coming into the picture. Our imaginations are there. So all that actually color the mind. So that colored mind is called Chitta. And it does not sometimes stop there. And you further think, you further want to proliferate, ultimately want to make an action. So that action, the level where we are tempted to take an action intentionally, that is the time we call it as Mana. So therefore, this is the kind of a explanation Katakurunde Jnanananda Thero says. So the very fundamental level we have the Vijnana. On top of that, we think and add our own likes, dislikes, all our stuff into that to some extent. That's the Chitta. And then on top of that, we further manipulate, and now we intentionally want to do something. They are the Mana. So there's a significant difference. So when we are intentionally working, we can't say we are working with the consciousness. Rather, here we are working at the Mana level. So fair contribution has come from individually our own say biases and all that are contributing. So I am, as a person now I am acting. That's why the kamma being generated. At the vijnana level, we can't say we are generating kamma. So at the mana level, yes, because I have a great intention to kill, I have a great intention to lie or something like that. So the intention is there, mana is operating, so mano kamma is there. Not the vijnana kamma, right? Have you ever heard about vijnana kamma? There is no such thing. Mano kamma is there. So you have the mana. So that is fairly colored, fairly conditioned, fairly ignorant. And I is there. I am, as a person, I now take an action, either bodily action, verbal action, mental action. I produce kamma. So the mana level is the one operating at the kamma level. So what's the other thing? Memory and mind. Yeah, memory actually has some contribution coming from this mindfulness also. Sometimes people interpret mindfulness also as smriti. Smriti is the, I think, a Sanskrit term, which is particularly talking about the memory. So therefore, actually in the Pali tradition, so some in certain suttas, Buddha mentioned as we develop mindfulness, so you come to a level, so everything you are fully aware, everything you are mindful, every action you can do mindfully. That is where we call it has reached the faculty of mindfulness. Sati Indriya. Sati Indriya is defined as Chirakatampi, Chirabhasitampi, Sarita, Anusarita. Chirakatampi, you have done something long time ago. Chirabhasitampi, you have said something long time ago. But Sarita, Anusarita, you can easily memorize it, you can easily recall it like you did it yesterday. So there the memory is involved. You know that the memory is that, right? So you have done something long time ago, you said something long time ago, but you can remember it. So the memory has a great influence coming from the mindfulness, where if you are able to maintain very good mindfulness when you are doing that activity, and here after another long time still you are maintaining mindfulness, then you can quickly recall what you did, what you heard, what you mentioned. Therefore, sati and memory has great relationship. But on the other hand, when you practice vipassana, these things may change. There may be a situation with vipassana, now mind simply start dropping things. Mind doesn't want to hold things, want to grasp things. You start dropping things. You might lose your memory. You will end up with dementia. So memory therefore is fluctuating, and there's a great burden coming because of memory. That's another side. So you may lose your memory, so don't worry about it. So that's all I like to say about it. So those are the questions we have received. Anyone like to ask any question, any contribution? Yes, please. One moment, yeah, please. Yeah.
Sorry if I've got things confused, but I think yesterday's discussion you mentioned perception and called it sanya. Yeah. Where does sanya fit into the whole framework?
Sanya also has some influence coming to the memory, because we probably remember using sanya. Now say for example, when you look at someone, so how are you recognizing that as your son, that as your father, that as your mother, your daughter, whatever. So that based on certain signs. So you remember his hair color, the body color, the complexion and his figure and all that. So those are actually certain marks, certain signs. So signs are actually the sanya. Signs are actually the sanya. So through signs actually we recall, we store information. Somehow we need to store information. That storage happens through these signs. So picking up signs and then storing also happens, and later time then we again see and we do a kind of a mapping, and then see, this is this person. Assume that database is deleted. Then what happened? Then you can't recognize, oh, what happened? Who are you? I can't remember you. I don't know who you are. Because database lost. Internet is not good. Sanya has Sanya has some impact, definitely a big impact on the memory.
And Vijnana?
Vijnana is the knowing part.
Okay.
Knowing part. Actually, Sanya and Vijnana also are related.
That's what I want.
They are also related. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Actually, we are. There's a question. I don't have that right now. There's a question raised by, I think, Venerable Mahakottita. You can refer Mahavedalla Sutta. Venerable Mahakottita is asking, is Vijnana and Sanya entirely different or are they combined, conjoined? And Venerable Sariputta answers telling they are conjoined. They are working together, like they are conjoined. So there's a relationship between these two. That is related to Panya, by the way. Panya and Vijnana. Panya and Vijnana are conjoined, not Sanya. Panya and Vijnana are conjoined. And there, Venerable Sariputta mentioned, Panya bhave tabba Vijnanam parinyeya. You need to develop wisdom. Through that, you are comprehending Vijnana, the function of Vijnana. These are very interesting areas, by the way. Appear like Greek, but very, very interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah. Very deep also, but these are very subtle points how our minds are working. So we are actually through Vipassana, what we do, we are developing certain amount of wisdom. So this wisdom helps us to understand how the Vijnana is operating. So Vijnana is like the magician. You know that Vijnana is the Mayakara. Vijnana is the Mayupamancha Vijnana. So more we develop wisdom, slowly, now we can understand the magic. Later, you know what he is up to. Then you are not get deluded. Yeah. 5 minutes more. Yeah.
Avasara Swamin Wahanse.
Yep.
Now Sakman meditation, when I was doing, I get this Vedana. First I understand like Patavi when I walk. So then Patavi, then I come to know Vedana and Sanya together like. There's no way and no Sankara at all. Now I know there's sometimes I get smooth sand and sometimes it is rough. But the Sankaras are not coming, I just...
By Sankara you mean the thoughts?
Thoughts, I mean dislike or like or nothing.
Right.
So I was wondering now our thoughts are very fast. That is why all this coming together like Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. Like. So I wanted to know whether it is Vipassana. Because I'm when I go I understand this is, I step on sand, it is Patavi and then there should be Vedana, but I don't get any like irritating Vedanas are not there. All Sukha Vedana also not there. It's like, is it Upeksha or...
Yeah, type of. Yeah. Thing is, now at the beginning we are putting a label and we like pleasurable feelings, we don't like painful feelings, so our mind get involved, our mind start thinking, desiring, hating, all that is there. But later we come to a situation, we understand they are also coming and going.
Yeah.
Pleasurable feeling, okay, it is also arising and passing away. Painful feeling, that is also arising, passing away. Equanimous feeling, that is also arising and passing. So then why the point that I desire to a particular one, why I hate it? So likewise the understanding is growing.
But
so more the understanding, then you are becoming somewhat equanimous about, I am not worried about anymore about the quality of these things, but I am little maintaining kind of a distance. So they are coming, either pleasurable, painful, equanimous, they are coming, but I am not much involved at all. Yeah. So later, you might even can't label. These things simply come and go, quickly come and go. You can't attach a label also.
Yeah.
That is how it is very much like growing.
Yeah, that I understand, because the thoughts are so fast. We can't wait for sanya, and we can't.
No need.
No
No
need.
need.
No,
No
that
need.
is
We don't need to add a label.
Yeah.
I mean, it is coming and going. You can't even recognize whether it is pleasurable, painful, equanimous. You can't even recognize as such. Mind also very silent. There is no thinking.
No thinking.
But you can't recognize whether it is pleasurable, painful, or equanimous. No problem. Simply see how they come and go. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Good. Yeah. Okay, if there are no more questions, then we'll wind up the session. We have spent 1 hour. And thank you very much for interesting questions. And we'll meet again at 4 p.m. for Dhamma sermon. Yeah, that one's Sunlight.